If you have an Airbnb, you know how painful it is when a subpar review tanks your ratings and scares off future guests. If you're trying to build financial freedom through your short-term rental business, every single review matters. That's exactly why today's episode is so important. Today, we're breaking down the psychology behind surprise and delight items that we've honed over our 5,000 Airbnb guest stays, and how simple $5 guest gifts can dramatically boost your reviews, increase forgiveness for small issues, and create the kind of emotional connection that leads to repeat bookings and glowing 5-star reviews that grow your business. Let's jump in.
You might be wondering, what is surprise and delight? Well, they can be more expensive. In a nutshell, a delight item is a $5 gift that you give your guests to elevate the experience and trigger a 5-star review. Let's talk about the psychology behind why this works. Surprise is a powerful emotional catalyst for reciprocity, forgiveness, and emotional connection.
Reciprocity means guests feeling compelled to reciprocate the positive gesture with a good review.
Also, there's a forgiveness factor. Small surprises build goodwill, making guests more forgiving of the minor operational cleanliness issues. Third, it creates an emotional connection. It makes guests feel valued and creates a strong memory, encouraging them to repeat bookings and referrals.
Delight often stems from exceeding expectations, which we love to do. When guests find thoughtful extras, they feel taken care of. Your thoughtful details make guests feel valued, turning an ordinary stay into a cherished experience. And once again, you know what that equals: 5-star reviews and repeat bookings.
Okay, so some parameters to keep in mind. First, shelf stableness. Don't put out items that can spoil or are going to attract pests. If guests don't use the surprise and delight item, they can be given to another guest if it's, properly packaged. Also, size. Do you have the room in your storage closet for like a month's worth of these items? So nothing too big. Also, reorder friction. Do you live nearby? Then local items can be easily stocked. Otherwise, choose items that can be shipped from Amazon directly to your housekeepers to store and replenish. There's 3 main surprise and delight categories. The first is my favorite. It's nourishing surprise. Your guests have been driving all night, all afternoon. Maybe there's kids in the car and they show up and then maybe they're hungry and there's a snack basket there. They can grab some quick pretzels or chips, pop some popcorn for the kids and sit down by the fire. Maybe they're also a little stressed out. Wine is something that we do in some of our places. We don't do it all the time at every place. We tend to start with wine in a new property and really lubricate those first dozen reviews. We'll also keep like a sparkling or a bottle of wine in the cleaning closet just for those special occasions. So particularly when I traveled in Europe, it would always be like a bottle of white wine in the fridge. And it was just so nice after a long day to just be able to crack that open if you hadn't stopped along the way. Also, little things like chocolates and caramels. Again, one of my other favorites is we do for morning coffee. Obviously, we're going to already have a coffee bar. We like to do biscottis.
And the nice thing about biscotti is it's a little bit fancy. It's not something most people have day to day, shelf stable, and not everyone likes it. So you're not going through cases of biscotti. Someone will have it, like me, and think this is the best thing ever. And a lot of people will see it and be like, that's super cute. What a thoughtful gesture, and not use it at all. The second type of surprise and delight are sensory items. These are the things that, aromatherapy. Think about bath salts. I put them in little bags on this little reading nook in our clawfoot bathtub, and guests absolutely love them. Another item is shower steamers. If you don't know what that is, it's a small disc. And again, it has aromatherapy. So when the water from the shower hits it and creates steam, it makes this sort of spa-like experience for your guest. We actually had a lady on the show who ties fresh eucalyptus to the shower heads for her guests. And that's pretty fancy, but she lives nearby. Good for her, something to consider. And another thing in the sensory category would be a small scented candle if you don't rent to people with small children, because then it's a fire hazard. Another thing to note as you're selecting bath salts and steamers, don't choose ones that have little bits of flower petals or botanicals in them. They look beautiful and very earthy, but those little particles stick and dry to your bathtub and shower and make your housekeeper's job an absolute nightmare. The third thing to think about when you're talking about surprise and delight is local items. Guests absolutely adore things that were made locally. And besides that, it's really great for local artisans and small businesses. Things to think about in this category is a small bag of a local coffee blend if you know a shop down the lane, artisan soap, honey from a local farm, or jam, apples from a local orchard. Those are slightly less shelf stable than prepackaged, but again, they could be repurposed, especially if that bowl is in the refrigerator. And again, we talked about wine. If you have a relationship with a local winery, you may be able to get a discount on cases, and then they would get more traffic from your property. So it's a win-win situation.
Also, a bonus freebie that we just ran across is a printed list of your favorite nearby area restaurants in the property, and maybe even some sample menus. We polled some of our friends to find out what some of their favorite surprise and delight offerings were. And this came up way more than we would have thought. And it's free.
It's absolutely free. And if you have particular things you like to order, I do this. It's one extra layer. It's go here, order the duck fat fries with the local peach spicy ketchup. How could you pass that up once you've heard about it? Another free item to consider are notes welcoming guests. I guess that's nearly free. You have to buy the note card. Or notes congratulating them on anniversaries, birthdays, and special occasions. You can pre-write these generically or have your housekeeper write them depending on your relationship and if they want to do that or not.
We know you're really busy. If surprise and delight sounds awesome to you, but feel overwhelmed by the idea of researching all the right items, don't. We made a curated list of our favorite surprise and delight items that consistently trigger 5-star reviews. Just click on the link below to access it. Wondering how to decide which surprise and delight items to invest in for your guests? Aim to please your main guest avatar. That's the majority of individuals who rent your space. Do you mainly host couples or girls trips, business travelers or families or hikers or guests with pets? Think about what particular avatar would most enjoy and invest in that. Hikers may not want the scented candle that the girls group would love, and the girls group may not be as thrilled about the trail mix and the hiking guides. Also, guests traveling with pets are a huge avatar to surprise and delight. About 1.5 million pets were booked into Airbnb stays in the first half of 2023.
Just in the US.
Yeah, and I'm sure that number is much higher now.
How do you have a surprise and delight item for dogs? It's actually incredibly easy. Our number one item is a customized little dog blanket. We get rave reviews about them. And all we do is just roll them up and tuck them into a little basket, and it has a sign, "Does your furry friend need a blanket?" In this scenario, everyone wins. They put the blanket on the furniture so it's not damaged, and the guest feels like you are totally looking out for their beloved pet.
And the blanket's obviously for the dog, right? They've got like paw prints on them, so they're not mixing up the...
Yes, I linked to them in that document so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Another thing you can put out is a small toy. Particularly if you buy these in bulk, it's one more cute thing to put out. And if they're chewing on that, they're not chewing on your furniture. We also have a client who marks her cleaning calendar if there's going to be pets. And so housekeepers know to put out pet surprise and delight items for those guests, but not for ones who don't, because not everyone loves the idea of staying in a pet-friendly Airbnb. If you're interested in knowing how your pet policy impacts your bookings, tune into episode 20 of our Host Coach podcast. We did a deep dive into all things Airbnb related to pets, and it was really surprising.
All right, and next guest avatar is families traveling with children. In this case, we want to think about fruit snacks, goldfish cracker packets, and then the fun things, stuffed animals, books, lots and lots of games. The more games, the better. And maybe even nightlights so the kiddos can see their way around in the evening. Word of the wise, skip the crayons and the paints and the glitters to save your space and your housekeeper a hassle.
100% spoken like a true dad. Whatever you choose when it comes to surprise and delight, personalization and presentation go a long way in amplifying the delight of guests. If you put out fuzzy socks for guests, tie on a small note that says, "Wishing you a cozy stay." That way the guest knows the intention for the socks and that they're not random ones left by a previous guest.
We just bought fuzzy socks.
I did. We print custom labels for the wine we put out for our guests. They match our cabin design palette and encourage guests to unwind and enjoy. Putting that wine bottle on the counter with 2 glasses out lets guests know that it's intended for them as a treat and just gives that little wow factor when they walk in the front door.
All right, so what not to use as surprise and delight items? Unless you have an Airbnb that rents for like a week at a time and consistently gets repeat guests, it's not too wise to overspend on takeaway items like shopping bags and fridge magnets and travel mugs. We know how proud you are of your place, but it's typically not worth that high investment to spend all that on the branded materials. We have a coaching client who puts custom stickers on those shower steamers, and this is a really economical way to promote her brand. She has several units in the building and presents herself like a boutique hotel. Use your nightly rate to determine how much to spend. If you're charging $89 a night, you probably shouldn't be buying bottles of French champagne for guests. You can get a lot more bang out of your buck for $5 per stay. For an example, I was talking to a friend of mine just a few days ago, and he told me when they started out, they were putting out a complete s'mores kit for every guest. It was costing them $15 per stay and was really eating into his nightly rate. So he discontinued doing it.
I think now they provide firewood for the fire pit, which is a great amenity. A lot less friction. They're not constantly buying boxes of graham crackers and having their housekeeper assemble the boards. So they pulled back to something that's still very helpful and a surprise, but not something that's expensive and time consuming. On the flip side, if you have a high nightly rate, you can be more generous with your surprise and delight items. If you have a large house that rents for thousands of dollars, you should absolutely put sparkling wine in the refrigerator. This came up several times as a favorite with the travelers we polled, and they knew it was because they were staying somewhere incredibly fancy and they were spending top dollar. It wasn't an expectation, but it was a pretty amazing nice to have. Buying in bulk will decrease your costs. Continuing with my fuzzy sock example from before, you can currently buy 60 pairs of socks, fuzzy socks, on Amazon for $53. And the best part is you can pick the colors to match your Airbnb decor. I'm now thinking that we need to split the 60 between our cabins this winter. How cute would that be?
All right, here's a pro tip. Don't forget that these delights are supposed to be a surprise. Don't photograph them or mention them in your listing. The great thing about the surprise is that you won't get dinged if you're missing something, and you can change it up over time.
Great example of this. Somebody we know has a beautiful cabin, and they put in their listing that they always have the waffle iron with waffle mix. And I do not know what happened, but for some reason the waffle mix was not put out, and they were absolutely flamed in their reviews. They were getting 1-star reviews because they didn't have waffle mix, which is ridiculous. So listen to what Cullen said. It's for real. Do not tell about your surprise and delight.
So there you have it. You now know the science behind why surprise and delight works and the 3 core categories of gifts that consistently deliver. We also learned the practical guidelines on what to avoid, how to choose the right items for your guest avatar, and how to stay on budget so your margins stay healthy. Keep listening to the Host Coach Show. We're here every Tuesday sharing actionable expert advice, systems, and software to help you fast track the success of your Airbnb and maximize your cash flow so you can live a life of financial freedom. Should you need some help as you start your Airbnb journey or grow your portfolio, that's what we do. Head over to hostcoach.co and book a free 30-minute discovery call with us. Remember,
our joy is in your success.